bet what you were taught about Christopher Columbus is that he was this genocidal maniac, this monster that colonized, enslaved, and killed all the natives when he got over here. But what if I told you were lied to, and that there's historical evidence, plenty of it, that proves otherwise? Well, you better stick around and watch. But before you do, like, subscribe, comment below, and let's get started.
I seriously feel like we're deprogramming people from the Matrix. So I'm just going to shoot these at you. Let's start right here. Tim Barton, Christopher Columbus, instrumental in the founding of our nation.
Yeah.
We should tear down all the statues. We should get rid of Columbus Day. It's evil.
Nope.
Okay, well, you're tipping your hat. Because, Tim Barton, Christopher Columbus was a racist, genocidal colonizer who took and sold slaves. He should not be celebrated. What say you?
Yeah, so when I hear this claim, I like to ask questions to find out where somebody's coming from and how much they know, because usually you deal with either the intentional or the ignorant. Okay. I always want to know, am I dealing with someone who just has no idea what they're talking about? And maybe they have a good heart and have bad information. Yep. Or is it someone who's like, no, they're just full on drinking Marxist Kool-Aid?
Yep. How many people do you know that are just like that? People who are incompetent, maybe ignorant, or maybe people that are blatantly just ignoring facts and history. From my experience, the people you can only really reach are the ignorant, the ones who truly don't know the facts or the history. They just don't know. But when it comes to people who do know the facts and they just ignore the facts, there's no reaching them. They've already decided their narrative. But let's continue.
So which voyage did Columbus enslave the natives?
I don't know. I got no idea. He made 4, didn't he?
Right.
Okay.
Most people don't know there's 4. The first one was a voyage focused on intending for exploration. And really, he was trying to find a faster route to get over, right, to Asia, Eastern Asia. Yeah. He's not on a mission of conquest. Okay. He's trying to establish trade. This makes a difference, because if you're a salesman, they are usually trying to be so smooth and sweet and get you on board. When he shows up, the first tribe he met were the Taino tribe. He actually writes back to the king and queen, and he writes back and says, "You will be so impressed by what we found. These are some of the best people we have ever discovered, and you will soon rejoice that they will be part of the Christian faith."
Bro.
So how many of you grew up thinking Columbus was this monster, a genocidal maniac? How many? I was taught that. But here you have him writing a letter to the king and queen of Spain saying that he met a wonderful people that they're going to trade with, and you will rejoice to know that they will soon be Christians. And spoiler alert, he didn't force them into it. But it gets even crazier. Wait until you hear the rest of this story.
I'm going to read some of this. This blew me away, so I don't want to pull your punch. I'm going to read some of this. I didn't know how thoroughly Christian that dude was.
Yeah.
And that actually, direct source quotes from your book, the guy actually had a missionary impulse. So anyway, you go ahead. Keep going.
Well, why don't you read this, because then I'll tell more of the story.
Okay, dude. So I pulled 4 quotes from your book that blew me away. Because, dude, I grew up seeing all the statues getting torn down and the protests and, you know, like literally in my high school. And I'm like rural Kentucky. This is not like Portland. Like, you know, hey, guys, we shouldn't celebrate too much.
But if you don't know the story, you can believe a lie.
Oh, that hits home, doesn't it? That is so true. If you don't know the story, if you don't know the history, you will believe a lie. For the people out there who are history nerds or economic nerds, how many times have you spoken to somebody that it's obvious they don't know their history, they don't know anything about economics, and yet they believe all the lies that the radical left has told them, that socialists and communists have told them? It begins with a lack of education, or the wrong education, indoctrination from professors and high school students and community leaders who just want to lead these people down a path that is not based on facts and stats. I just wanted to point that out because that hits home. Let's continue.
All right, this is direct quotes from your book. As an avid student of the Bible, Columbus came to believe it was possible to sail across the Atlantic to reach people in Asia who had never heard of the God who is, and then you quote him. Quote, this is a direct quote from Christopher Columbus. "The God who is the hope of all the ends of the earth and the farthest seas." He's quoting Psalm 65:5. Okay, I'll give you another one. When he dies, this is from your book, his final words, he quotes Jesus, "Into thy hands, O Lord, I commend my spirit," quoting Luke 23:46. In a letter to the queen, this is what he says: "No one should be afraid to take on any enterprise in the name of our Savior if it is right and if the purpose is purely for his holy service." Okay? And then I'll give you one last one. You write this. He tells us in a book he began in 1502 before his 4th and final trip. This work, which was called the Book of Prophecies, contains scores of scriptures he personally assembled addressing, quote, "the propagation of the Christian gospel in distant lands. What an appropriate project for someone named Christopher, which means the Christ bearer."
So you can see in history, it is written by Christopher Columbus himself that he was indeed a devout believer in Christ. And what you're about to find out is a lot of the things that you heard that he did were terrible were all out of context, because context matters. Were terrible things done by this man? Yes, but what you're about to find out is some of these horrible things that you may have heard about Christopher Columbus were all taken out of context. Let's continue.
I keep going, because didn't he do some pretty bad stuff too?
So that's valid, right? So you're looking, going, now wait a second. So I don't care if he's a Christian.
Yeah.
What did he do?
Yeah.
Like you could say good things and not do good things,
Yeah, people
and
do
then
that all the time.
right, you actually are more defined by your actions and behavior than by your words. Yeah. Well, they have 3 ships. One of the ships ends up running aground. For the sake of the brevity, he has to leave part of his crew behind because they can't all fit on these 2 ships. And the Taínos say, no problem. There's this place over here, fresh water running down. So Columbus and his men, they build this little fort. They're going to leave the men behind. And this is in Columbus' own writings where he says, before they leave, they told us, hey, just so you know, we're not the only tribe here. There's another tribe. They're not nice people. Right. And Columbus very skeptically is like, I don't think it's correct because they told me like they eat other people. That's crazy.
Yeah, dude, this was interesting.
This is key because this is the kind of context that they leave out of history. So there's another tribe that lives amongst the Taíno tribe, and the Taíno tribe is warning Columbus, telling him that these people are dangerous and they're cannibals, and he's leaving behind some of his men because one of his ships are damaged. So wait until you see what happened next.
So he leaves men behind, goes back, tells the king and queen, and again, like the letter already where he says that this is the most incredible people. Again, he's going for exploration to set up a trade center, and he's like, we found an island. Nobody's all like, we're gonna have free trade. It's us. We're gonna, like, this is gonna be the best thing ever. He goes back, tells the king and queen, they're like, that's amazing. Okay, well, we're sending over like 17 ships, 1,200 men. We're sending over so many. Columbus tells the queen, again, like this is in his writings. He says, I think you're sending some bad people. Many of the men that are coming, this is actual quote, are not befitting the title Christian.
Look at that. They don't teach you this, do they? Columbus himself warned the king and queen of Spain that some of the sailors they were sending with him were not befitting of the title Christian. They weren't good men. They weren't Christ-like. They had other agendas. He tried to warn them, but let's continue.
Columbus said this
to the queen.
See, dude, okay, keep going.
Right? He's like, I don't think this is good. Like some of the people coming, that's not who
Bad
we want to
dudes.
represent us.
Yeah.
They go to another like adjacent island. He says, we need to go back to the original island to get the men we left behind. He goes to the original island, and when he arrives, he finds that the fort that they had built is now destroyed, burned to the ground, and he begins seeing the bodies of some of the men on the beach. And
Some of his guys or the natives?
some of his men's bodies.
Oh.
And as he goes closer, they're all dead.
Yeah.
And he goes closer and realizes they've been cannibalized.
Now, this is a key moment they do not teach you about when they talk about Columbus. This moment leads to some of the atrocities that Columbus has been accused of. But again, with context, you understand why. Let's continue.
And he's like, what just happened? So he finds some of the Taíno tribe, and they're like, we told you.
Yeah.
Like, there's another, because at first he's like, what did you do? And they're like, it was not us. Yeah. We told you they're another tribe. In fact, they actually came and they attacked our village as well. They kidnapped some of our women and children. And we aren't strong enough to get them back. And Columbus is like, you tell me where they are. Mm-hmm. Like, I will solve this problem. The Taíno joined Columbus. This is a big deal because when people talk about Columbus committed genocide, first of all, it was not genocide when the group of natives that he goes to war with already attacked and ate some of his men, right? Like
Columbus is often accused of committing genocide on whole tribes. Well, when that tribe are cannibals who killed all your men and ate them, to retaliate is not genocide. It's self-defense. So what happens next has been misrepresented throughout history. They want to put Columbus into this box that he was this evil colonizer when it's just not the truth.
Hey, man.
Here's the deal. If genocide is not an actual military conflict, but if you pick a war with someone who's bigger, tougher, and stronger than you, and you get your butt kicked,
that's not genocide.
It's not their fault that you suck at war.
And by the way, this can be applied to many modern things happening right now.
This can be applied to many modern things that are happening right now, but we're not going to talk about that today.
Losing a war you started is not genocide.
Oh, it's interesting thought.
Yeah, let's just get that out of the way. Losing a war you started is not genocide. Anyway, go ahead.
Currently applicable. I see
Currently
that. I see
applicable in
connections.
some ways.
The village they were going after, the other native tribe that was there, they were known as the Caribs, which is where the word Caribbean comes from. They were also known as the Cannibs, which is where the word cannibal comes from.
What? Dude, I didn't know that.
It's the origin of the word cannibal.
Okay.
Okay.
Wow.
So Columbus goes with the Taíno, and by the way, the Taíno are like, "Can we please come with you?" Like the guys with the boom boom sticks, we're in. Let's go with you. So they go, and they do. In this village, they win this conflict. For the survivors who were not killed from the Caribes tribe, Columbus does say, "Okay, so all the survivors, they can be enslaved," and that's what people are like. He enslaved them. This is literally in the 1400s, where there's only two options at the end of a war for the losing side.
You die or you're slaves.
That was the only option.
People forget this, that in the 1400s, slavery was a worldwide thing. For some reason, America gets blamed for slavery all the time. No, slavery has been going on for thousands of years. And at the end of a conflict, at the end of a war, at the end of any battle, there's only two options. They kill you or they enslave you. So that's what happened to the survivors of the Cannib tribe, the cannibals.
So he's not doing something uniquely evil.
Yeah.
He's literally doing what the entire world is doing. And this is not to like justify on a moral standpoint, but this is the reality. This is the world they live in.
That's right.
This is the only option. And in fact, for all of Columbus's 4 voyages, he never approved the enslavement of anybody who was not captured in justified war. That's really important.
Say that one more time.
He never approved the enslavement of anybody who was not captured in justified war.
Fascinating.
Okay?
They don't tell you that in school.
High school, the vibe you always get is this guy just rolls in, starts slaughtering innocent natives, taking just for personal wealth and acquisition and gain. Is this literally like deprogramming?
So Columbus also had a couple like medical doctors with him, and they also kept journals. When they conquered this village, they say there was 49 huts in the village, and all the huts were locked from the outside. So they go and they begin to unlock and open these huts, and there were women on the inside. And Columbus, and by the way, the doctors there, like this is in their journal, they said the women were terrified when they saw us, because like, we don't know who you are. No. But when they found out we were not going to eat them, they were well relieved, and they told us that the Caribe men treat them with such cruelty that could scarcely be imagined, that they eat the children that they bear to them.
Oh. Now do you understand why he did what he did with the context? And this is the thing, a lot of people with this narrative, this hatred for our founding fathers and Columbus and all this, they refuse to address the context of the time period and the situation at hand. They ignore historical facts, simply because it doesn't fit their narrative. But let's continue.
And these are the quote-unquote genocided.
These are the people that were genocided.
Jeez.
Right? So literally they were kidnapping women. They were impregnating them, which how that process goes, not voluntarily. And then they eat the children. And people are like, I can't believe you committed genocide. I'm like, you have no idea what the story is.
My goodness.
Now, to jump ahead a little bit, so that's the second voyage, the colony's being set up. He goes back and he starts petitioning the king and queen, like, guys, I would love to be governor. Like, can I please be governor? And he petitions, and finally they're like, I don't think it's a good idea because you're Italian, but you're selling for the Spanish, and our colony is a Spanish colony. I don't think they're going to look favorably on it. He petitions enough. They're like, fine, you can be governor.
Now, wait until you hear this, because this paints Columbus in an even better light once you understand what he did as governor. Let's continue.
He's the governor. He's not really a good governor. But partly, one of the many problems he had, he was an explorer at heart. So he sets up these rules in place. And part of the rules were you cannot steal anything from the natives. They did not value gold. And so men were like, we want your gold. And they're like, we don't really care about it. And he says, you have to give them something of value in exchange for the gold. So like literally when people are like, he's just doing this to get wealthy, there's so much more to that story, which not to digress in this point. So he has gone a lot discovering on his third voyage over there. He comes back to find out that some of these Spaniards have begun enslaving, sexually assaulting, and even murdering some of these natives.
Which he warned against, as you said earlier. Hey, man, you're sending some bad dudes.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Well, now he's the governor, and he had already put laws in place that actually showed respect and decency for the natives.
Because he was a Christian man.
He finds out what they did, and he gets the Spaniards that did it, and he publicly executes them.
Wow.
Does that sound like a monster to you? Columbus, as the governor of the colony, finds out that the Spaniards that came with him, the Spaniards that he warned the queen not to send, were committing heinous crimes against the natives, and he publicly executes them. But wait until you hear what happens next.
You can imagine if you're in a Spanish colony and you publicly execute Spanish people, and they're like, who do you think you are? You're Italian.
That's right.
So they lead a revolt. They actually imprison him, put him in chains. They send him back before the king and queen. He gets back and makes his appeal and explains what actually happened. And this is, by the way, when the accusations come that he did all these evil things, it was made by the men that had done those very things, that had put him in chains and sent him back, which is also one of like the oldest tricks of the book. You accuse your opponent of what you're guilty of. So they exonerate him. They pardon him of all those crimes, but they're like, hey, so it's better if you're not governor anymore because like this, we need somebody else. So he's removed governorship, but he's funded on his last voyage. Anyways, the whole thing, when you study the narrative, you're like, it's not that he's a perfect guy because everyone's a sinner in need of a savior. he's just not guilty of the sins you're accusing him
what they say
today.
he did.
He's not guilty of the sins you're accusing him of today. This all goes to show that everybody needs to do their own research. You have to. You can't trust hearsay. You can't trust somebody just telling you. Go look it up yourself. Go look up the original letters from all the people that traveled with Columbus, his own letters. It's all there. You can go read it yourself. But the whole point of this is you have to reflect on what you think you know. Question yourself. Have integrity. It's hard because sometimes you'll find a truth that contradicts what you want to believe. But that's okay, because if you can tell yourself the truth, you can find that truth and realize, okay, I was wrong. It's going to make you a better and more intelligent citizen of humanity. So this gentleman here, Tim Barton, has written several historical books that cite sources from those time periods. So you can read their words in his book. They're quotes. Educate yourself before you have an opinion. You can't have an educated opinion if you haven't educated yourself. So I hope you got something out of this video about Columbus. If you want to watch the rest of this podcast, go to Lake Point Church on YouTube and find their Live Free podcast playlist. There's so much more that they talk about in this episode that I may make another video on it. But if you enjoyed this video, make sure you like, subscribe, comment below. Let's have a conversation about this. But with that said, I'm Noel. This is God in Politics. Christ is King, and God bless every single one of you. I love you. I'm out.